What's going on, good people? Good late morning on this Sunday. Hope things are going well for you. And we got some stuff to talk about here. We've talked about the Seattle Seahawks a lot since their preseason victory over the Chiefs. A lot to talk about there, but this video, we're not going to be talking about the Seahawks. We're going to be talking about their rivals, their opponents, because things are consistently developing and changing with regard to the teams that we're going to be playing over the next several months. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with this because nothing's really changed. The closest thing we have to an update on Matt Stafford, which is, of course, the big linchpin of the Rams, is this from Adam Grossbard yesterday afternoon. A Rams spokesperson declined to comment on whether or not Matt Stafford worked out yesterday, which was scheduled, and said that Sean McVay would address the situation on Monday. So if you want to know what's going on with Stafford, we'll know more tomorrow. And when we get an update from McVay about Stafford tomorrow, if it's substantial, I may make a video about it because obviously that's a big deal. But we don't really have anything new right now there. Just to quickly go over where we are, though, I wanted to lead with that so people could be aware of it if you haven't seen this. So hold your horses until tomorrow. We should know more in the next 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. This video is not really about that. This video is going to be about the other division rival because they're the team we actually have to play in the next few weeks. We're going to talk about the 49ers here. Please click the thumbs up button here. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. Let's talk about the Niners because they played a preseason game yesterday and more stuff happened. Now, obviously the game was interesting enough on its own. The Niners won on a, I believe, buzzer beating. At the very least, it was a last-second field goal from Moody over the Raiders. So I guess the Niners like that, but they didn't like some of the other things that came out of that game. And we got to talk about this, not just because the Niners are a division rival, but because the Niners are the first team we're going to play this year. And anything that happens now when it comes to injuries like this, it's going to affect the team that they're going to have when they play us in week 1. It's almost impossible for it to not. Even if the player plays, how can it not have an effect? So let's run it down, starting with the big one from yesterday, Dominick Puni and his new injury. Dominick Puni, second-year offensive lineman. He started last season. He was going to be starting this season. He's certainly starting caliber. He was good last year. He figures to be a good player for them going forward. Yesterday, he got a possible, we don't know all the details yet, a possible PCL injury, which is a knee, and it is believed as of right now from Shanahan himself, but also from other people who observed the injury, that he is probably going to miss a few weeks. According to Shanahan, he has a chance to be ready for week 1. That doesn't sound super encouraging for Dominick Puni. That doesn't sound super encouraging for the 49ers. Even if he is ready to play, he probably will not be 100%. And this is a pretty big one. That Niners offensive line is leaning pretty heavily on players like Dominick Puni to take strides forward and be part of the strength in 2025 because they don't have a lot of really reliable players up front at this point. Even Trent Williams, who has been a remarkable player over the last several years, really almost his whole career, but ever since becoming a Niner has been a Hall of Fame caliber player. He's at the age where you don't know what you're going to get at all times, I don't think. Like, there are going to be games where he's dominant, but there are going to be moments, especially as the season goes on and he wears down, that he's not going to be dominant. And he's not going to be this perfect linchpin that you can put everything onto the shoulders of and know he's going to get it done. And they lost their other starting guard from last year to the Packers in free agency. His name is slipping my mind at the moment, but He's a good player, but the Packers overpaid him like crazy. The Niners can't match that. It would be kind of ludicrous to pay a guard that kind of money when you're the 49ers and you have Shanahan's scheme. But the point I'm trying to make is that is not a great offensive line. They're still starting a player like Jake Brendel. They're still starting a player like Colton McKivitz. So Dominick Puni was a guy they were hoping would be, at the very least, a quiet wheel, but possibly more than that, somebody who might be really good or great. And now his offseason is getting a little bit slowed down by this. Even if this ends up not being a big deal and he ends up playing week 1, it's still not good that a player that is in his second year, this is not some longtime NFL veteran, is missing this time. And on its own, this might not be the end of the world, especially on a team like the Niners because of their offensive scheme. It's on top of everything else. There were a couple other injuries yesterday for the Niners, 2 running backs. Dominick Puni was obviously the worst of the injuries they suffered yesterday, but Corey Kiner also got taken off, and according to the coaches, from what I heard, is expected to miss a couple weeks, at least. Same for Patrick Taylor, another running back. And look, I don't know if either of those guys were going to make the roster. I don't. But what I do know is, with all the other injuries that the Niners have already had and all the other concerns that they have, they may have needed those guys. They may have been thinking about those guys playing a non-trivial role on this team as early as week 1 because of all the other issues they've got. 21 players on the 49ers 90-man roster are sidelined with injuries. Now, this is not going to contain all of the information. I'll zoom in a little bit here. Their depth chart on ESPN, but you can see that some of this stuff is going to matter. Curtis Rourke doesn't matter, right? Curtis Rourke is injured. That's not something that's going to affect the Niners, but Isaac Guerendo, questionable right now, working through an injury. Jordan James, working through an injury. Patrick Taylor now. We just mentioned Patrick Taylor. Patrick Taylor, under normal circumstances, wouldn't have really mattered if he got hurt, but it might matter now, depending on what's going on with these other guys. Christian McCaffrey can't play every snap, especially not with the issues that he's had over the last, I'd say, what is it? Not quite a year, but close to a year. We've already talked about Brandon Ayuk. We know he's not going to be there week 1. Jawan Jennings, there's something going on there. Jacob Cowing, questionable, listed as questionable here as well. Ben Barshk, sorry if I mispronounced that name, but he's listed as questionable. He's the new starting left guard because of the guy who went to Green Bay. You've got a bunch of stuff going on the defense. Look at this. Look at this front. Look at this front 4. Everybody's listed with some kind of designation. Some of it's not a big deal, right? Like, I know Bosa is going to play. Bosa is going to be fine. But Kevin Givens, I don't think he's going to be fine. Michael Williams, even if he's technically fine, he needs these reps because he's such a young and raw player. You got CJ West working through his own stuff. He was one of their rookies that they're depending on to make a significant contribution in 2025. Even a guy like Gross Matos, that name takes me back, by the way. Gross Matos. I said I was going to learn how to pronounce it if we drafted him, and we didn't, so I never learned how to pronounce it. But regardless, that's not a player who would normally matter that much, but maybe it matters if there's something going on with some of these guys in front of him. You look at all these guys in the secondary. We know about Mustafa, but even Jair Brown, Renardo Green, it goes on and on. I think a decent chunk of these players are going to be there for week 1, and they're going to be fine, and they're going to play fine. But some of them won't. Like, we know for a fact that Ayuk won't play. That's basically been confirmed. And there's no way all of these guys find their way back. All of these guys with a quick queue. There's no way everybody's just fine. Like, I think Juszczyk is going to be good because they've already indicated that it's minor and he's probably just resting because he's old. But there is not a lot of depth on this team. They really cannot afford to be messing around with this. They have injury designations next to every single player starting in their secondary right now, and about half of the backups. This is not something the Niners needed in a year where they're so top heavy. And it's brutal. And what this highlights, for one, is the Seahawks are very lucky right now. They have not had anywhere near this happen to them. And there are other teams out there that are battling injuries right now, too. A team like the Chargers, maybe they don't have a wide range of injuries, but they've lost their franchise left tackle for the season. That's devastating. We could have 10 players get hurt over the next 2 weeks, and the combined value of those 10 players would very possibly not equal the impact of Rashawn Slater. And certainly, I mean, of course, it depends on who the players are. I'm assuming that they're more depth level players, second string, third string, of course. I'm not trying to say that Rashawn Slater is better than every player on the Seahawks. I don't want to be misconstrued there, but the point I'm trying to make is the Seahawks have gotten very lucky so far here, and we should be grateful because this injury situation could easily belong to anybody else, but right now it belongs to the team we play in week 1, and that leads me to the other thing. Sitting here about 3 weeks away from that first Seattle Seahawks regular season game at home against the Niners, you've got all these injuries. You've got all of these issues they've got. You've got all of these concerns. You've got so much stuff going on with that Niners team that seems negative. And then you've got the Seahawks playing at home with a very healthy team. Uchenna Nwosu might be the one guy of real important value that you're missing in that game. That's what it looks like right now. And do the math. What I'm trying to say is, I mean, we're getting to a point now where not only should we think we can win that game, not only should we think that we should win that game, this is almost turning into a you better win that game kind of situation. A team this beat up, you better take care of it, is what I'm saying. So that's what's going on with the 49ers. I wanted to spend some time on this because unlike the Rams, who we do not play for a while, like if Stafford starts on injured reserve and misses the first, 4 games or 6 games or whatever, obviously that hurts the Rams, but that still gives Stafford an opportunity to return before any Rams-Seahawks games transpire. The Niners we play first. And that first game is going to be significantly affected by everything we see here. There's no way this team gets to a place of good health by kickoff in Seattle in about 3 weeks. And things are adding up. And I don't mean to add pressure to the equation here. I don't mean to act like this is any kind of a negative thing. This is not. Like, this is the NFL. This is football. I'm not going to sit here and say I want my opponents to get injured, but when they do get injured, you have to acknowledge that it is an advantage for you that you otherwise would not have had if those good players were playing. But you better be able to take advantage of it, or, I mean, at this point, with the way this Niners team is shaping up, we may have to push down pretty hard on the brakes. The hype of the hype train, if this team cannot get it done against what is looking like a mash unit in San Fran. Let me know what you guys think. Another video coming later, at least one. Streaming on Twitch later. Go Hawks. Everyone have a good rest of your day. What do you think? Can we beat the San Francisco 49ers with one arm and one leg tied behind their back? I'd certainly hope so. Go Hawks.